everybody, and welcome to the newest indoor adventure in Waterdeep, War of the Spark. Today is January 28th, 2020, and you are loved. And that is a very important thing that we like to remind each and every single one of you viewers at the beginning of each and every single one of our sessions, which of course you can catch on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at twitch.tv/indooradventures. We also upload all of our VODs to a YouTube and anywhere podcasts are available, all under the same names. So consider going to check that out if this is your first time joining. Also, if this is your first time joining, did you know that there are other ways that you can help support the show? Consider possibly going to indooradventure.redbubble.com, where you can gain access to all sorts of t-shirts, mugs, posters, wonders, absolute wonders that we have. We even have stickers now, which are super cool. You can turn them into magnets, as Danae has been doing for the last however long. Also, hey, we have a Patreon set up, so if you go to patreon.com/indooradventures, you can gain access to our after show called Nights in the Courtyard, where we answer questions from not only from the community, but also from each other. It is a great time. I love seeing the questions that you guys toss out at us, and our wonderful chat is always looking to help bring in questions that you possibly ask during the show in the chat bar to our questions for the courts. So, hey, consider asking it anyways, and we will do our best to respond. Other than that, we also have a giveaway going on. So we started this giveaway when we hit 420 followers. Blaze it. But we are now at almost 450. It's super neat. I'm really excited about it. And you guys should be excited about it too, because we are giving away some good prizes. One lucky winner will receive the Descent to Avernus Collector's Edition cover of the Wizards of the Coast module, as well as the Descent to Avernus dice set, which includes a map of the first layer of Bator, as well as some honestly really nice looking red dice and info cards about many of the devils that you will encounter during your time in Avernus. The second lucky winner will receive, praise Queen, a copy, the collector's edition, of course, of the Tyranny of Dragons book. This includes the Hoard of the Dragon Queen and the Rise of Tiamat all bundled together, so it's basically like getting two books in one. And, of course, has a fancy cover that includes all of our dragon friends on the front, and the back looks fucking rad. So consider joining our giveaway, and you could see yourself as the winner of one of these fine things, because we will be announcing the winners. I know it seems like this giveaway has been going on for a while, but the winners will be announced on January 30th, 2 days from now, after our Ghosts of Saltmarsh game. So consider joining in. There's little time left to actually be able to go and, well, enter. Other than that, that is it for my spiel. Hey, RJ, who are you playing tonight?
Hey, everybody, I'm RJ, and I'm playing Hubris, the Tiefling Sorcerer Warlock.
And Greybeard, who are you playing?
I'm Greybeard of Greybeard's Tavern, and I, of course, am playing KRONK GOREBLAST, Goliath Gladiator, Barbarian.
Hi, I'm LBHackEmUp, and I'm playing Ghost, the Shifter Blood Hunter Cleric.
And I'm Danae Keener. I'm going to be playing as both Daka, the Rogue Barbarian, and as Virtue, the Tiefling Rogue Sorcerer.
And I realize on the overlay that it did not update to say that the name has been changed, but it is. It just says Daka, even though there is a picture of Virtue with all of the other goodies there. So that is Virtue. We'll get that switched out here as soon as I am possibly able to, probably around the break. But that should be fixed here relatively soon. So without further ado, I am the Indoor Adventurer, and tonight I shall be your Dungeon Master. So last we left off, our group of intrepid adventurers met up with a famous figure of Magic the Gathering lore known as Venser of Urborg. Venser ended up helping the group, or rather requesting the group, in assistance with rescuing a old friend of his, a silvered golem named Karn. Upon Karn's release from a experimentation facility, you are all able to get out of said area thanks to Karn's planeswalking ability, and you all met up with a small creature named Fithlethip, a legendarily lost homunculi throughout the city of Ravnica, who then led you to Acquisitions Incorporated. The lot of you decided, well, the majority of you decided, that you were going to, at the behest of the Halfling Vi, hop on one of these Acquisitions Incorporated airships and do a quick run as a supply deposit for what you aren't exactly sure is to come. But you know that you are going to meet somebody along this trip. Ghost, you decided to stay behind with Daka, and for some reason I didn't stop you, but maybe that will become clear in today's session. However, the rest of you boarded upon the Greener Pasture, an airship with Acquisitions Incorporated livery, followed with the and met the crew members. A Vidalcan man named Cavan, a Loxodon woman named Zissy, a goblin named Dipswix. You're not exactly sure how they identify, but goblin is usually a safe bet. And of course, the human captain of the ship, one figure known as Captain Sunder. Later that evening, as you were transporting Karn to where he needed to go, Sunder, you invited one of your new members on board your ship, Hubris, into your cabin, where it was then revealed that Sunder was actually Hubris's sister, Virtue, the one that he had spent some time actually looking for. So that is where we are going to pick up from last week's session. Hubris, you are staring at your sister in front of you. Virtue, why don't you describe what you currently look like for all of our viewers who maybe have not or maybe not privy to your current stylings?
Sure thing. Virtue was wearing pretty much exactly the same thing that Sunder was, which is to say a red captain's cloak, and I'm going to say a black hat, and just some loose-fitting sailor's wear. She has completely white skin, just like Hubris, and she has these iridescent scales that have started forming up her neck and almost across her face. And they have developed a lot more since he has last seen his sister. She always kind of had like little rainbow glitters in her skin, but now it's a lot more prominent. She is 4'11". She would insist that she's 5 foot even, but it's definitely 4'11". And she is just standing in the middle of her cabin, kind of surrounded by chemistry sets, things that are meant for brewing potions and poisons and things. There's also what did we say? It was like an anglerfish-headed bear that's stuffed in the corner.
It's some sort of weird Simic amalgamation creation.
Something like that. Anyway, she's standing, she's got this big long tail and these twisty horns, and she's just standing in the middle of her cabin, just kind of gobsmacked at Hubris. And she says, "Ulysses, it really is you, right? You're not some sort of doppelganger creature."
That's not Ulysses. That's Hubris.
Oh,
To be fair, as a point of note, KRONK, you were not invited for beverages with Virtue and Hubris. It was just the two of them in the captain's quarters. You were left out on the main deck as the ship sort of flew around. It was a personal invitation from the captain. So it was just the two of them in the captain's quarters.
What happened to your horn? Is that hand fake? Wait, Pops shot himself?
Hubris is shaking. He takes a step back away from her and keeps his gun trained on her. I might not be a doppelganger, but how do I know you're not one?
She just kind of like stands there for a second and says, if I'm being honest, I didn't consider that.
Your turn, then. Something only you would know and not something I would know. How many beds in our room?
No bed. We slept on a couch. And I would hold on to your tail when we slept.
It was a chair, one. Can I insight check her?
You can for sure make an insight check.
I can.
She was smaller. It could have seemed like a couch for her.
She's
It's
still
fine.
smaller. She's 4'11".
She's still small. 19.
With a 19, you know that there is, as LB suggested, it might have just seemed like a couch, like a mental recollection for Virtue at the moment considered it to be a couch. It wasn't a slip up. It was what they truly believed.
Birch just wings being a dummy.
Okay. He lowers the gun and takes a breath. This was too easy.
Bull hockey? I've been here for 5 years.
Well, yes, but
I did most of the work.
what the? I looked for you, you know. I spent 5 years looking for you.
Well, I spent 5 years running for my life.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. Are those guys outside? Like, they're good too?
The big one, yes, he's cool. I don't know so much a thing about the golem.
She's gonna run over and beat on the door. Kevin, they're good.
And you hear a responsive "da."
I have questions. He stows the gun and walks up to her. What happened after we... Are you all right? And then he like starts patting her face.
She slips under his arm and she goes and she starts yanking knives out of the wall. Well, what was the last thing you saw?
We were in the town and you had turned to wave to me and there was someone I didn't think would be there standing behind you and they grabbed you and teleported
Wait, you knew him?
In a professional sense, yes. I thought we killed him.
Do I know his name is Manchun?
You would have known at this point that his name is Manchun, yes.
Yeah, okay. He grabbed me, pulled me through a portal. We were in Ravnica. There were people everywhere. He pulled her down into the sewers, right?
Yeah.
He pulled me underground somewhere. I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know who he was. And I just seen you, and all of a sudden, all of this was happening. So she starts, like, putting those knives back where they belong. Something happened. Something weird. It's never happened before. I didn't understand it at the time, but I've been told that my spark awakened.
I've been hearing that a lot lately, and that's very concerning. But that aside, and he strides across the room and he hugs her. I'm sorry I let you go again.
She hugs him back. Anyway, there's a lot going on right now.
I can tell from the last day and a half I was here with my friends.
Wait, how did you get here?
Oh,
Do you have a way back?
No, it's not science. It's not an exact science, but maybe.
You're stuck here too?
No, but hey, look at this. He pulls out a pocket. I got married and I have a kid now. Click.
What?
You're an auntie. Jazz hands.
Oh, it's just her brain is absolutely fried right now.
Okay. So while Hubris is trying to make the fact that he's stuck here on Ravnica with you now better, that is where we are going to go over to KRONK. KRONK, basically you hear a thump thump come from the cabin door, and then a feminine voice. You didn't see any effeminate figures on the ship outside of this large elephant woman who seems to be doing her best at helping man the ship. But at that, you see this blue-skinned individual who has almost like a reptilian nose. It's just little slits rather than a fully formed nose. Just say, ah. And then they set a contraption on the steering wheel, and you see them leave the steering wheel of the ship, but the ship seems to be maintaining its course. And they walk down a flight of steps and come over to you, KRONK, and then pat you on the shoulder. So, I've heard that you are good people now, so it's... do you want anything to eat, drink? I feel like I may not have been hospitable when I was debating as to whether or not I would have to throw you overboard or keep you on the ship.
I've always wanted to punch a hole in the side of a ship.
Let's not punch holes in the side of this ship.
Oh, well, then let's not try to throw it. And I lean over him, a gargantuan over the side.
And as you're leaning over, KRONK, you feel a metallic hand on your shoulder, and it is Karn saying, "Easy, friend, easy. Things are not quite so simple here in the city. I'm sure that if you were to be thrown off, there would be good reason, but know now you are under my protection."
All right, then why don't we drink? He says to not Karn,
Yeah.
but to the Vendalken.
Yeah, and the Vidalkin nods, and will actually pull a flask out of inside of a vest pocket and then pass it to you, and explains that it was that this is made in the Undercity. It's probably not street legal booze, but it'll get the job done. And as the if you drink it, as the liquid hits your lips, there is a very sharp but sweet like taste to it. It's almost like a cider, but you can't place your finger on exactly what fruit this possibly came from.
All right, yeah, pretty good.
Okay. So, yeah, you are having drinks, exchanging pleasantries with the rest of the crew members. Dipsowix is looking at you, looking at Karn, and you see them pull out what looks to be a large glass bottle, and that has a hose attached to it, and they are just speaking into the hose, kind of giggling to themselves, as they are looking at your group proper. So as you're getting acclimated with the rest of this group, who is all taking you into account, and you can see that after that feminine voice had come from the captain's quarters, there was definitely a relaxation that seemed to have swept through the crew. They don't seem to be as tense now as they were previously. But
and I'm just we're drinking, and I am using I forget what the trait is called, but stats. I just go around the crew snatching other stats from them because, well, it's in my class.
Okay. Sounds good. Don't you have to take 10 minutes to identify?
1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute. So what would you like to know about and who?
We'll monkey with it later.
Later. Yep.
Yeah. It's just
Thank
that.
you.
KRONK is just, these are
He's
possible allies and or opponents. So
none of them have any levels in fighter, so you are doing much better than them than that.
All right.
So that is when we are going to go back over to Ghost and Daka, who have remained on the city streets. So Ghost, you are watching this airship fly away. It rises up and then begins heading towards the east.
It's got a green balloon. It's called the Greener Pasture.
And so, Ghost, it is just you and Daka standing alone at the airship dock in the 10th precinct.
Well, I guess my mission's not over.
Are we going to be waiting for them to come back, or are we going to try and meet them there?
Why would we go there?
I was mostly asking out of character, but...
Oh. We have... Ghost has things to do.
Okay.
So, I need to learn more about all these factions, and I need to find out about Manchun, where he's been hiding.
All right.
Where should we start?
Where should we start?
He is a powerful magic user. He's been here before, right? He was here when he was hiding, right?
That is correct.
He's been here before, so I'm sure he has some sort of foothold somewhere. I'm surprised that no one's heard of him. Which means
Yorzov are stealthy.
Yorzov?
Yes.
Ghost, you remember the signet that Hubris had shown you that actually came from Manchun when he had left a piece of trail for the lot of you to follow him. And it looked like a spider, but where the abdomen was, there was a centralized eye.
Okay. Ghost pulls out a piece of paper, revealing this mark. Spiders have 8 legs.
Yee.
I'm not going to show you. And I'm going to show you. Does this mean anything to you?
Daka, make a history check with advantage.
Okay. Natural 20.
Daka, there are most people, yourself included, for the most part, consider there to only be 9 guilds within Ravnica. But in the darker corners of society, to the more notorious individuals, there is another guild. It is House Demir. And House Demir holds itself in the sewers of the Undercity. And you, Daka, have actually worked with several members of House Demir before. The 2 Minotaurs from back in our Extra Life campaign, back when Daka was first initiated, they were members of House Demir. Whether or not they actually revealed themselves to be as such, only one of them actually did such a thing. However, you know that this house does exist, and almost instinctually you kind of cover up the symbol. It is something that is... It doesn't necessarily draw a lot of attention to have this symbol out, but if members of that guild see a non-guild member talking about referencing this guild at all, it usually doesn't work out very well for that individual.
Yep. As soon as she sees it, Daka's hand just goes out and covers it, and she just kind of lowers it. And as she does so, she lowers down onto her little horse knees, so that she is on level with Ghost. And she says, "The 10th Guild."
Fantastic. Where can we find them?
Normally you don't. Many say that they don't even exist.
Ah, a ghost society. I know a little thing about those.
Fizzlethip, please.
As soon as I hold him, he'll calm down. Come here, big boy. All right.
Do you know anybody that is a part of this guild?
I did.
Where is their headquarters?
Do I know that?
So the headquarters isn't a set place, but most people know that it is within the sewers somewhere, if they do have any kind of recollection as to what the guild actually is and who they are. Normally they are just met with middlemen and no one like proper from the guild.
She kind of screws up her nose a little bit and she says, "Underground."
I see. Well, we best get started then. This might take a while.
She'll hike herself back up onto her hooves, throw Fipplethip to the ground.
And he just
What's...
it just spills off and you just see there's and he just looks at the lot of you and gives you a very scared look, like seems comfortable with Daka, but then sees you, Ghost, and just your intense gaze meets this small, pathetic looking creature, and they just scrabble away. They most quickly run from you, and as you watch them run, you see them just get absorbed into a crowd. And once again, Fithlethip is lost.
Should put a tracker on him. Well, I guess we should start in some of their haunts, places they like to stay. Drinking would be best.
Does Danka know a place that House Demir agents would tie one on?
So House Demir agents tie one on wherever they damn well feel like it, because nobody really knows that they are indeed House Demir agents. But you know that if you are looking for relatively shady dealings and individuals who would fit that description, the quickest place that you would know of is going into either the safest bet would be Orzhov territory in the Undercity. A less safe bet would be Golgari territory within the Undercity. And the Golgari... there are a lot of liches and necromancers that exist within the Golgari that don't see a problem with what they do at all. It is a way of life and then recycling to them. So you know that you could go near Golgari lands, but typically the Demir and the Golgari are tenuous at best.
She will explain all of this to Ghost.
I fear that I'm going to have to perhaps get involved with this Demir clan to get any information. Also, my appearance is going to be alarming to anyone who knows of me and knows of Manshun. Perhaps I can find a disguise, something to hide my physical features more.
Are you thinking magically or something a
might
little
be
more
best.
tactile?
I don't have that much money anymore. Let's get some sort of scarf or something first, and we'll go from there.
Daka will lead her to a reasonably priced store. We're going shopping again.
Girls' Day!
Okay. And you managed to find a reasonably priced scarf. It is only going to cost you a total of 10 silver pieces.
Wonderful. All right, and she's gonna put a scarf. She's going to wear like a headscarf situation where her nose is covered but her eyes are still visible, and then she'll let her hair fall over her left eye so that glowy blue eye isn't kind of all out in the front.
Okay, so your head wrapping makes you look like Sheik from The Legend of Zelda, which I'm all about. And you and Daka set your sights on an Orzhov bar, or at least one that exists in Orzhov territory, to try and get a good understanding of possible leads when it comes to the Dimir. Mm-hmm. So the bar that you end up going to is called the Triumvirate's Pleasure, which most people just know as the Pleasure. And upon entering in, you can see that Ghost, the pathway to this bar takes you roughly about an hour and a half of travel time, which all things considered is relatively quick in terms of Ravnican distance. But there is a large archway that leads down a road that then is illuminated by these kind of dull gold sconces that seem to have old fires in them. And when I say old fires, it just looks like they don't burn as brightly as they should. They still illuminate properly, but looking at it, it's like each individual flame is sputtering, trying to hold on to its last grasp of life. And you are led deeper underground, and after about 45 minutes or so of this travel time, you realize that the city that you have experienced is above you, and you are on a connected series of bridges and roads, and looking down like underneath these roads, you can underneath the roads that you travel on, you can see that it goes down and continues to go down deep into the actual structure of the earth itself. It seems that Ravnica, when it was being built, expanded to a point where it covered almost the entire globe, but then they needed to keep building and keep building. And so rather than demolishing, they simply just clean slated and kept building up and up and up and up until eventually the city that you know, that you have experienced, is just the top layer of this otherwise almost depthless city. And hopefully Ghost is not afraid of heights. Because again, looking down, you can tell, like, if someone were to fall down there, who knows how far they would actually fall until they hit the bottom. And you eventually make your way to the Pleasure, and standing outside, you can see, dressed in the same armor as the individuals that were protecting the woman that you had seen in the Transguild Promenade, they are acting as bouncers standing outside of this bar as well, and just seem to be looking for anyone causing trouble. But thankfully, you two are approaching in a calm manner, and they give a bit of scrutiny to Daka, but it seems like they know of Daka. And Daka, you've worked fairly well with pretty much every single one of the guild members, and as long as you have coin, you know that the Orzhov don't really care who your allegiances are. And so the group of you end up making your way into, or the two of you make your way into this building. And looking at the bartender, You see that they are a human man who has very pale-looking skin, almost like they might not have gone out to see the sun in however many years it is that they've been alive. It is just parchment white. And working behind the bar with them, you see a large lumbering figure that has manacles around its wrists that as it walks, you can hear chains kind of dragging along the floor with this ostentatious gold mask of what looks to be a pleasantly smiling patron on the front of this mask. And as the two of you come in, this lumbering figure raises a steady hand towards you, and you can see that it only has 4 large fingers, not a full set of 5, on both sets of its hands. And it has a lot of scarring and stitch marks on it. Daka, you would recognize this to be a worker thrall. It seems like the bartender here has gained enough favor that they are actually the owner of this large lumbering form, via debt in some form or fashion. And as you arrive and they wave you on, you end up finding yourself a table, and you can see that there are... The bar isn't necessarily populated. You see some hooded figures. You see that there is a bloated-looking fellow in one of the corners that seems to be counting stacks of money. And as they are counting stacks, they seem to kind of chuckle to themselves. And then one of these smaller thralls will come in, swoop down with their wings. He will hand them off several coins, give them what sounds like a name, and then the small thrall will nod and then fly off to some unknown direction. It seems like this Orzhov agent is currently just making the best of their current situation. So what would you all like to do while you're here? Would you like to begin investigating members of this here bar, or are you going to just try and like keep your ears open in case anybody says Demir or Manshun or any of your other keywords?
I think keeping our ears open for now, but definitely observing everyone. And like Ghost's main thing right now is has no idea who anyone is or what allegiance they have or why, which irks her, and it's something she needs to know. So she's going to like take note of outfits and like probably have a conversation with Daka about the guilds and like go into more detail of like where they are, what they do, who's in charge, as much as she knows, which you don't have to say. I'm writing down. I have the book.
Okay. Sounds good. So, Daka, you do your best to kind of explain inter-guild relations as best you can to Ghost. Make a history check. Let's see how much Daka actually knows about the guild's relations with one another.
Oh, that makes it easy. 18.
Okay, so with an 18, yeah, you have a fairly good understanding of Orzhov are the universal moneylenders. The Azurius and the Boros, they work together fairly frequently to maintain a sense of order and judgment throughout the city. The Izzet are kind of left to their own devices because nobody likes working with the Izzet. If there's only one group that might be partially equal to in disdain towards working with, that would be the Golgari, but just because the Golgari smell weird and they don't ever come up from the Undercity. All things considered, people don't generally like working with the Simic as well, but the Simic are amenable to surface dwellers. They seem to actually like... They have their own section of the city that has a large, it's about a 10-mile wide stretch that is just, in heavy quotes, open ocean. It is a saltwater area within the city that the Simic actually use to kind of just maintain They're large creatures and experimentations. Every once in a while, you'll see a sky swallower just emerge from the pool and join the other congregation within the air, but thankfully, those are usually bought and purchased by some other guild for transport purposes or for aerial defense. As far as what other groups think about House Demir, again, most people don't consider House Demir to exist. But guilds that Daka, you would know at least, work relatively close are all the ones that you are currently here with. The Boros and the Azurius would be caught dead before they started working with the Demir. Rakdos does its own thing, and everyone's terrified of Rakdos, but nobody wants to address the problem, so they just sort of sectioned them off over there. And as long as they don't break anything, which they still do, then we're all going to be fine.
Rakdos is pretty much the only guild that Daka refuses to work with.
Well then, let's avoid them as fast as possible. How does one get a job with the Demir? With our friends?
Do you want one?
I'm thinking I might need one.
All right. Daka will get up and go find like a poker game of some sort. I don't know. What do you play in Ravnica?
They play cards.
Magic.
They play a very, very convoluted and complex card game simply known as The Gathering here on Ravnica.
Okay.
Sure.
She's gonna go and sit down to a game of she's gonna go gather and try and establish a rapport, and if not that, at least make them fear her.
Okay.
A lady after my own heart.
Okay. So make a intimidation check. Are you proficient with card games?
No.
All right.
However, my intimidation comes up as a 17.
Okay, so the deck that you are playing is actually very well off. It seems like Daka, even though your cards are a little bit older, it was back before they nerfed a lot of the power creep, so you're just sort of able to roll over these newer players. And in doing so, you definitely have more individuals that are going to come up and try and play you for cards. As it seems like the anti-rule was not banned in Ravnica. So as you were playing for cards, eventually the bloated individual who is counting money, you have caught his eye, and you see that he stands up, and as he does, there's a stain where he was sitting. You're not sure how long he's been sitting there, but there is definite indentations where his ass was on the seat, and against this back pillow, it is just a little grimy. And he sits up and pushes one of the players aside and says, "Oh, I see we have another player for the gathering." And he sidles down into the seat across from you and introduces himself as Aloysius, and he is going to pull out a deck of cards, and he seems to be interested in playing with you as well. He seems to experience no fear.
I'll observe the table as
Okay.
it's happening.
All right.
Daka does not engage with him. She will play with him, but she will, like, any chit chat he wants to have, she's not engaging.
What race is he? We're not sure.
He looks like he could be a human.
Is he the thrall I saw before?
No.
No, oh.
He was a rather corpulent looking fellow who was in charge of several thralls. He looks like a moneylender of sorts.
Oh, Daka hates these people.
He has a very skeezy way of playing this game. To him, it's not necessarily about dealing the most damage to you. It's about making it so you can't deal damage to them. With many cards in their deck that are all about fog walls, and eventually you realize that their strategy is making you pay for things, pay extra, while they just sit back and do nothing.
That infuriates Daka. She has a very straightforward, like, boom strategy. And so any amount of trickery is infuriating to her.
Ghost is going to try to observe the game, understand it, and then see if he's cheating.
Okay, make an insight check.
Okay.
He plays fucking Mill. Ugh.
Yep.
18.
So-
Forgot I had such a high insight.
So, an 18, thankfully, you are able to quickly pick up on the interactions of this game. There seem to be two types of cards generally, those that are resources and those that are not resources. And through a mixture of the resources and non-resource cards, it seems like there is a small battle that is being had here. However, it seems like Aloysius is playing straight, much to Daka's chagrin. And all things considered, it just looks like they aren't necessarily even playing with better cards. It just looks like there is a more coherent strategy that they have going on. And Ghost, as you are looking at the table, you hear the sound of another individual entering into this bar, and you recognize this individual. You actually saw them relatively briefly in the Transguild Promenade, but it is a human-looking man with a tanner complexion. They have long brown hair that goes down to about shoulder length, a little bit of a goatee, and they are wearing leather armor that looks almost reptilian on the actual scale patterns itself. And they walk into this tavern and wave at the bartender, and then they seem to take a seat relatively near where this game of gathering is currently happening, and they just seem to be enjoying their drinks, watching it from afar. On initial insight, Ghost, you see that their eyes are sort of like darting back and forth. They don't seem to be following the rules as easily as you had.
Mm-hmm.
But they still seem to get a brief kick out of the interactions between Daka and Aloysius. And as the game of gathering is being played, and Ghost, you have this familiar figure walk into the tavern, that is where we are going to transfer back to the greener pastures. So Hubris, you and Virtue are currently on the ship together in the cabin's quarters. And KRONK, you have been accepted by the members of the crew, who have all agreed that they are not going to throw you overboard.
That's good.
All right.
During this time, I think Virtue and Hubris have caught up a little bit in terms of just figuring out what the heck has happened.
You sold an orphanage to slavery.
I didn't sell an orphanage into slavery. That jerk lost in a game of gambling to me, and then they sold an orphanage into slavery.
You know what? I'm going to shelve that for the time being.
Listen, I'm not proud of that myself, and I'm trying to be a better person. But all of this, I didn't ask for this. This wasn't my fault.
No, wasn't. I apologize. I guess if I had taken care of Manchun better, if we made sure he was dead, he couldn't have tracked me back to you.
From the sound of things, even if it wasn't Manchun, somebody would have come after me.
At the very least, I could have shot them.
Would have appreciated that, yeah.
Sorry, kind of deer in the headlights sort of thing. Saw you standing there, and then suddenly, bah! I'm going to take your sister. I don't know if that's his actual. I forget what his voice was like. It's been a year.
It's been 6 years.
It's been 6 years. What can I say? It's good to see you again.
I'm glad to see you too. And really, hubris? That's what you're going with?
Listen, I was young, I was dumb, I thought it sounded cool. And it stuck.
You can still change it.
Virtue, though? Really?
I'm trying, okay?
Oh, never mind. Just gonna shelve that too. Yeah, so he unzips his sleeve, shows off the mechanical arm.
She'll like kind of touch it a little bit and then examine it, and then she'll reach up and like touch his horn. She's like, that must have hurt.
Yeah, that hurt a lot, actually. Don't remember most of the beating, but I remember waking up in the streets of Waterdeep naked.
Jeez.
It's been a rough couple of years.
I mean, it hasn't been sunshine and roses for me either.
No. I think that's a gimme for our family. Hey, by the way, I'm no longer cursed. Or sick.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a relief.
Wish it came a lot sooner, though.
Me too.
He smiles a little bit. When I couldn't track you down at the orphanage a few years after I'd gotten the job over at the circus, I went back to the old house and I got the chair. It's in my office right now.
I wish we were in your office.
Me too. My daughter would love you.
That is still blowing my mind. I'm not great with kids. I wasn't a great kid.
Neither was I. But I learned. Kind of. Oh, fuck. I've got to tell her we found you.
Well, when we get back, you can tell her yourself.
It's complicated. My relationship with my wife.
I mean, what isn't? Okay, how complicated? Because complicated for us is pretty...
I think she put a hit order out on me.
What?
Yeah. He lifts up his shirt and like there's a scar along the side that looks like it's frost burnt over.
Oh my god.
It's
a good thing you left her behind then.
She's here.
What?
Yeah, I had to ask her for the money to get here. And so she and the big guy, they were part of my old crew, of my crew.
All right, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I've dealt with this before. We just stay in the air and we never touch down again.
No, we have to tell her. We have to go back. I dragged the two of them into this. Like I
Okay.
did you.
Can we trust her, though?
She's been good so far.
I
Albeit kind of... There was this big fuck off thing in the, like... I don't want to say slum areas. Like, we were out there somewhere. Sorry, just derailed. It's tense between us.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. If you need to get away from her, I can do something.
No. We need to get those two back home.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm already working on that, actually.
How?
There are several guilds that are working on interplanar travel, and I've been saving up money.
How much money?
She kind of steps over to that bear with the anglerfish head, and she lifts the mouth open, and it's just filled with jewels and gold. And she's like, I haven't counted in a while. And then she just-
7? Is it 7 layers of hell? 9? Hells.
Lucy, it's okay.
It has been a long 5 years. Sorry, he'll walk to the door and open it to see where KRONK is.
Oh God. She is gonna run up and grab that hat, and she's going to come up behind Hubris, and she's gonna say, "Crew, I want to introduce you."
And when you open up the door, KRONK has been drinking from Cavan's personal supply.
Oh no.
So you see a... Thankfully, Zissy knows their limits, but KRONK, you have currently been going drink for drink with a Loxodon, and there is a goblin who has just been like recording this whole event into their whisper jar, just watching you, just like, oh my god, this is incredible, and Cavan is laughing to themselves. Karn is just like stone-faced looking at your group, but KRONK, I want you to make a constitution check, or constitution save.
Would I know that Ghost and KRONK keep in contact?
Yeah. KRONK lets you know very frequently that he gets to talk to Ghost all the time.
Somewhere in the range of 24.
Okay.
17 and 7.
Yeah, you're holding your liquor fairly well, and it seems like the rest of the crew is as well, but they are definitely getting they're getting to know each other more. And so when you walk out, what is it that you say while disguised as Captain Sunder?
Oh, she hasn't put the hat on
Okay.
yet. Wait, did we decide whether or not they knew?
The crew knows, yeah.
Okay, cool. Good. Crew, I wanted to introduce you. This is my brother. He's Hubris now.
Hello.
And at that, the golem Karn just like puts up a single hand. Like it's his form of waving.
Like he's waving, but he's not asking a question.
No, he just
Oh, okay.
like hello. But he's met you before, Hubris. He just felt like waving as well. And the rest of the crew also just generally waves. And Cavan has slight trepidation, but since you've said that it was okay, he's all right with it. But you can definitely tell that there is a little bit of like, not sure about this one.
He's
Ha!
never sure about anything.
No, he's
It's a shorter hubris. And
KRONK.
sparkly.
KRONK. He walks up and starts patting his face. Remember what Ghost told you about things you're not allowed to say, like revealing information? This is one of those things. And he'll motion for Virtue to come over.
Mm-hmm.
KRONK, this is my sister, Virtue.
So, I don't know you, and I'm not supposed to know you.
No, you're not supposed to say out loud that she's my sister.
Ah, crap.
It's fine.
All right.
She says, if anybody asks, and she just puts that hat on and she grows about a foot and turns into that captain that you saw earlier.
Your Hubris' dad.
No, Captain Sunder.
Adoptive father.
Got it. All right.
Don't know
And you're a
my-
human, though, when you put the hat on.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hat off.
Got
Big
it.
guy, when you talk to Ghost later, could you tell her to pop in on me as well?
All right, but I'm on this ride with you till we get back.
When she talks to you, big guy.
Oh yeah, got it. All right, that you're all right,
For the most
and
part,
that you
yes.
found Captain Sunder.
Sure. This is fine. He just has this like nervous smile.
Okay.
Oh boy.
And as you are just feeling exasperated, trying to recollect everything about what exactly how you are going to word this weasel of a sentence to Ghost without raising any alarms or making her more upset than she is as a base level, that is where we are going to snap back over to Ghost and Daka. So, Daka, you have been playing the same game against Aloysius for a bothersome amount of time. You have been doing this same game for roughly 45 minutes, and Aloysius is still just draws, never really plays anything during their turn. At one point, when you had attacked them, they had played a spell that not only prevented you from dealing damage to them, but also summoned 3 1/1 spirits to his side of the field, and he has just been attacking you steadily with one of them for a while. You get rid of them, but every once in a while more will pop back up, and he's just being rather bothersome. As far as as you would feel an honorable player would be.
Can I tell if Ghost is getting anything valuable as far as information goes?
Am I supposed to be casing this guy?
I don't know.
I thought you were getting me a job.
What is your goal here?
Well, I thought we were gonna get me a job, but I guess again, Ghost is taking note of the people. She has definitely taken note of the gentleman who walked in, the traveler that we saw in the square, because he stands out, and seeing him twice in one day is a bit Ghost doesn't believe in coincidences, much like Mr. Leroy Jethro Gibbs. So she is going to see if he's taking notice of her or Daka.
He doesn't seem like he is watching Daka as much as Daka is not the quietest gathering player in the joint, and Aloysius is rather boisterous in his moves as well. He is the kind of player who likes everyone to know the exact move that he's making, so everyone knows that he's on the table and level-headed about it. But this figure is definitely eyeing you a little bit more closely, Ghost. And they seem to take more notice of you than they do of Daka or anyone else. And as after they've been after you have both been like avoiding each other's gaze, being like, well, I'm trying to look at you when you're not looking at me. Eventually the gazes meet, and he gives you a brief smile, and you see that he kind of laughs to himself, and while looking at you, he just pats across the table from where he is, inviting you to come join him.
Do I feel like he doesn't seem to belong here, right?
No, he also
Like
does
the-
not look like he's from here.
Yeah, the people of this tavern don't take note of him like he is someone they know.
No.
Okay. Then I will, as I turn, I'll let my hand brush against Daka, letting her know that I'm no longer next to her. And I will walk.
She acknowledges that, but like she's going to try and keep the crowd's attention on the game.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Okay.
I will
Sounds
go with my drink to sit next to this gentleman.
And as you sit down, the figure says, it's so much easier if, well, we just get this out and over with. I've noticed you noticing me, and I'm sure that I am not the best when it comes to looking at such a fine form.
You have honey in your words.
Possibly.
You don't seem to be from around here.
This is true. Came here from... it doesn't matter. All things considered.
Well, I'm sitting. You have my attention. I feel my friend is going to be engaged for a while. And I like a story.
Well, what kind of story do you like hearing?
True ones.
Well, as far as true stories go, I have been around, to say the least. I have seen places and things and met people that you would not believe, even if I reassured you that they were true.
Fascinating.
Yes.
In a city with such amazing creatures, seeing something unbelievable would be intriguing.
I have seen entire planes converging onto one. I've seen the raw face of Nexus power before my very eyes. I have seen creatures beyond description. I've seen... how would you describe them? 8 sides, almost like a dice, floating in the air, and inside each of those was yet another horror.
Incredible. You must be a great traveler then.
And he kind of smiles and nods to himself. Throughout my journey, I've been looking for one thing.
Oh?
Do you know what that one thing is?
A pretty lady to drive by a drink for?
No, but if you like, that's where we could start.
I think we could start there.
And he nods, and he'll place an order. He doesn't order for you. He doesn't know what you want, but he is more than willing to pay for whatever you end up ordering.
They have white wine.
Yep,
White wine.
they do.
Solid.
It is an Orzhov mint of white wine.
Ooh.
Yes, it's very fancy. Much better than the Selesnian counterparts, because the Orzhov white wine is more of a bitter, stark flavor, whereas the Selesnian white wine is more fruity. Yeah, so this figure ends up saying, well, now that drinks are out of the way, perhaps I could get your name.
Well, I go by many names. My people are quite secretive of our true names, you can call me the Lady Flame.
I don't think I will be doing that.
What would you like to call me?
I'd like to call you something simple. Something easy. Lady Flame reminds me too much of those Boros figures.
How about Vixen?
He nods. I can do Vixen.
I've given you a name. What is yours?
You may call me Sarkhan.
It's lovely to meet you, Sarkhan. I take it you're not part of any guilds?
No. Just passing through. I have been told by some of my other friends to meet them here. Not here in this bar, but in this place, this city. And so I do my best to follow. It's difficult.
What do you mean from... There's nothing else besides this city?
And he looks at you and kind of tilts his head a little bit. Remember when I was saying that I have been to places that you would not believe? I'm from one of those places. A place that is ruled by dragons. In the same way, it's similar here. There is the big, smart and annoying one that all of the goblins and other small folk claim to be their Draco genius. That is not what dragons are meant for. I see it, but a lack of purpose that one has. I follow the true dragons. The strong. There was a place I once visited known as Jund. At least that's what it was called by the Nekatal. Animal people with cat-like features. Not unlike yourself, but a little different. You seem more akin to myself than you are a cat, so evens out.
What was the name of the place you were at? The greater name?
It was known as Alara.
Ah, that's a beautiful name.
It was a beautiful place. Well, albeit some of the places in Alara were not as beautiful. There's this region known as Bant. Ugh. Absolutely terrible. It was full of white knights and...
So how do you travel so far?
Well, I have abilities. I have gifts. Gifts that were given to me and gifts that I've always had myself. Have you ever seen something so awe-inspiring that you feel something deep within you swell and grow?
I have.
What would you do if you could harness this power?
I would give anything.
And
I
for
would.
what?
For what? The ability to finish things that I've started. Power. I don't know.
These are good reasons enough. For me, it was to find purpose. The dragons that I had met before, they had understanding, they had passion, but they did not have drive. The creatures that I met on Jund, they were lacking in intelligence, but they harness pure destruction with their very maws. And I have been looking for something that has that level of destruction and also the intelligence. I'm looking for something with drive, with passion.
You're on a great quest then.
Great is one way to put it.
Your ability, is it something that can be taught?
There is one who could teach you.
Really?
He nods. They would be able to unlock your full potential.
I wouldn't have to sell my soul now, would I?
No. We are not demons here. As you can see, motions to himself. And with all of the talk of dragons that he has been spouting, you realize the scaled leather armor that he is wearing is dragon hide. And he says, is that something that you would want?
Well, I mean, it's a big question to ask a girl over a drink.
Well, I can let you think on it if you wish.
That'd be nice.
He nods. Just know. The you that you are right now only has a fraction of the power that you could have. Inside every one of us there is a dragon waiting to be free. At least that is what we were always taught where I was living when I was young. I've embraced this dragon several times before, and each time I feel like I am closer to my goal.
What is its name?
The dragon inside of me?
Well,
the
thing that... What is the thing that gave you power?
And Sarkon thinks about this and smiles. It was my god. Simple enough.
They don't have a name?
The name that they prefer, Vixen, is simple and easy to remember. For me, that was my god.
I see.
So that is how I described them. Your friend is losing.
Yes, I'm worried she's going to knock over a table.
And Daka, you are getting close to the end of your deck, and you know that as per the rules, once you run out of cards, that is the end of the game.
Is there any way that I can fuck him over, even if I lose? Is there some way that I could fuck him?
Well, there are plenty of ways that you could fuck him, but rather for the game, you realize that there isn't really a way to combat his strategy. When he had roughly about 20 cards left, he revealed one from his hand that took all of the ones from his graveyard and shuffled them back into his library. He's the worst. Aloysius is truly the worst.
I think Daka just throws the cards that she has left in her hand on the table.
And Aloysius is... Victory is mine. And he reaches out with a big grimy mitt and grabs some of the Xenos on the table that you had wagered for this bet. And due to the anti-rules of that are available in Ravnica, he puts his hand down on one of the cards from your hand that you had tossed down and just takes it back with him. This is why you don't like playing with the Orzhov. It's not that they cheat, they're just
dicks about it.
They're just dicks about how long it will take them to win and how okay they are with playing the same game for hours. If you had ever seen a mirror match between two Orzhov officials, these can last for days. Just playing the same game as each of them continues to reshuffle and just wait for the other one to mess up 1 point of damage at a time.
She's gonna take out a short sword and just kind of like jam it into the table, and then like as though like property damage has appeased her, she will kind of like squeak it a little bit in the table and then pick it up and turn around.
As you turn around, the thrall from behind the bar is just standing over you imposingly. It does not like the fact that you have caused property damage to its bar.
She glares up at him and then sheathes her swords.
And it just looks down towards you. And the bartender says, it's going to be 3 Xeno to fix that. Sorry, Zibs.
God.
Yep.
She rolls her eyes.
Ghost waves a hand. It'll be fine. She stands up and starts mending the table.
Okay. And at that, the big figure, you see its chest swells as if it were breathing, but you hear no air intake, and then its shoulders slump a little bit, and again there's no exhale as you hear the metal chains of its manacles hit against the floor, and then it begins to lumber off. And Ghost, as you are mending this, Sarkon will walk by and lean in and whisper in your ear, and he says, fixing tables is party tricks compared to what you could do.
I'm not saying I'm not interested, but a girl's got to think.
And Sarkon will wink at you, and he says, find me when you're ready.
I'm sure our paths will cross again.
And he walks over to the bartender, pays for your drinks as well as Daka's drinks as well. And then he leaves the bar. And as he exits the Triumvirate's pleasure, that is where we are going to go into our break for the evening. So I would like to say thank you to everybody who has decided to stop by and join us for this wonderful journey through Waterdeep War of the Spark. We are going to try and be back in 5 to 10 minutes, so don't go no place unless it is to grab a food, grab a drink, grab a friend, or possibly go to bit.ly, to Indoor Adventure, no S, .redbubble.com, and pick yourself up either a t-shirt, mug, poster, sticker, shower curtain. We have all sorts of stuff there, and it is all available for you. So we will see you guys shortly. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I was going to say the newest indoor adventure, but you're already here. Congratulations, by the way. Hey, check out the giveaway that is posted in the side link of chat. Or, if you follow me on Twitter at indoorwhatthefuck, I retweet it every day, and I continuously will until the giveaway is done. So, consider signing on for that. But let's get back into it. So, Ghost, you and Daka have not gained any further contact with any members of the Demir Guild, but you ended up meeting a rather handsome honey-voiced individual named Sarkon Vol. within the Triumvirate's pleasure. And that is where we are going to swap back over to our dear group of I was going to say twin tieflings, but it's really just tieflings that are related. I also am to blame here for that one. But you guys are going to be on the airship for several days. So is there anything that you would like to cover while you are on this airship? I guess at the end of the first day, Ghost, are you messaging in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll near after nightfall, KRONK gets a familiar voice in his head that Ghost begins with "Bing bong," as to not scare him, because just the random voice has scared him in the past. Bing bong. Checking in. Remember, you only have 25 words.
And he
There's
he
a
went,
long pause.
yeah, because he went, and then he went in his head, was that a word? Is a word? I did answer. And he started thinking along those lines, but he didn't say it. He didn't send it back. So yes, there's a long pause. And then he's like, Hubris found his sister. And then he thinks he's got a lot more words. Gonna be gone few days. Keep in touch. He's not out of words yet, so I guess if you've got
Hubris
more
did
words.
tell him to tell Ghost to contact Hubris.
Oh. Yeah. Give Hubris a yell.
You don't get anything response.
Well, I should hope not, because that would require a second use of
Yeah.
sending.
Yeah, but KRONK would know that, so
Yes. Okay. Second casting of sending. So this is kind of what Hubris hears in his head, is just like the phone picking up, and then kind of like a long. KRONK told me you found your sister. Congratulations. And then nothing. But he knows he can respond.
You can reply to this message.
When we get back, we need to talk. She's been working on a way to get out. Stay safe.
Daka just sees Ghost go. Fiddle with her necklace and look off in the middle distance.
Rolls her eyes.
Okay, that actually is a pretty good point as well. So, Daka, Ghost needs a place to stay overnight in the city. Daka, you don't usually sleep in the city. Your home is in the rubble belt. Where are you guys going?
Where do you want to sleep?
Someplace safe.
The safest place for me is the Rebel Belt. Where do you want to sleep?
I can sleep anywhere. If you're inviting me.
She will reach down to her. Like, yeah, take her hand.
And she takes her hand.
She swings you up onto her back and she runs for the rubble belt.
And
Ghost has ridden horses before. This is really weird. She doesn't know where to hold.
You can't see where you're going.
I guess Ghost is just going to like hug her waist.
This is acceptable.
Okay. Let me know if I'm hurting you.
You'll know.
Okay.
Right off into the sunset together.
Hell
Kinda,
yeah.
yeah. You actually just shoot through the Transguild Promenade, and at one point you see, like, Daka, as you're running, there are a few Boros legionnaires that are trying to track you down for reckless endangerment within the city walls.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah, they don't like how fast you're going, but who's gonna stop you? The Boros? They're too slow. Fuck them. And so you just continue running. And you manage to get back out to the rubble belt, and you find a relatively safe place to kind of call and rest for the evening. So, Ghost, as you go to rest for the evening, you once again have a dream. And within this dream, you are, once again, as you dreamt of last night, being lauded upon by these strong, buffly men's who are just waving large palm fronds over you. The air is warm, the air is sweet. And looking out from the same area where you had walked to previously, you can see that there is this oasis that exists in front of you. And there is a part of you deep within that knows this place, that can name this place, and internally you register it as a Monket. It is a place of magic and wonder, and in this dream, you are their ruler. What you say goes, and everyone gladly follows after you. And you see other individuals as well. You see that there is Sarkon, and he is just smiling at you, and he also seems to accept your rightful place as the current ruler of Amonkhet. And as the sun fades, there is a shadow that is cast behind one of the far pyramids. And behind this pyramid, you see these elongated shapes that almost remind you of horns. And the reason that they remind you of horns is because they exist in the same shape and pattern that Hubrises do, and that they come out and then form what appear to be a small crown from this shadow behind the pyramid. And you hear a voice. And the voice says, "Is this what you want?"
It is nice.
I think you could do better, personally.
Well, what do you think I can do?
I think that you can do everything you set your mind to. Now, is ruling this small oasis all that you're capable of? Or have you always dreamed of something greater, something bigger than just this? And you see the desert around this oasis begin to populate, and buildings emerge out of the sand, and before you spans an entire cityscape. And the voice says again, "That's a little bit better. Do you think that you would be a just ruler?"
Just to me.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I've already sent my emissary to you. You seem to have taken quite a shine.
You must be the dragon.
Well, that's a little apt. I am many things, scholar mostly. And I have seen the truth. I've seen the truth beyond the plains. And it is that they are swamped with chaos. There is a problem. And you, well, you could fix it. Don't you agree?
Well, I am the fixer of many things. What would I be fixing?
You'd be setting order to chaos. You're setting things right. Now,
Right in the eyes of whom?
well, right in the eyes of you.
At what cost?
Oh, no cost whatsoever. I simply bring gifts. There are those who don't appreciate my gifts, but, well, I'm sure you're more than familiar about what it's like to have those who would look down on you for differences.
How much do you know about me?
Well, I know that you've been alone before, that you too were scared and you witnessed something horrible back beneath the floorboards. What I'm willing to give you is a means to an end. Way to set things right.
And this end, is it destruction?
Nothing so preposterous, I assure you. What I seek is order. A set way to all things.
I do like when things fall in line.
And you would be able to set those things in line. Just the way that they need to be.
This is a very tempting offer. What is your name? What can I call you? Where I come from, our gods have names.
Well, you can call me the Pharaoh. I see that you believe in yourself. You draw a lot of strength from inside of you. As my emissary asked, have you ever felt a wellspring of emotion inside of you that you wish that you could handle? To give
I think you know that I
form,
have.
function to. And I've seen what little you can do. I've seen the fire come from your very blood, but what if you could do more? What if you could be more?
Are you suggesting godhood?
Well, there are those that would consider you to be a god.
Well, I guess I have not looked beyond my city in quite some time. Perhaps I could stand with some expansion.
And the figure says, the people of Amonkhet, they would be ripe for a young god such as yourself to appear. They seek
Is that where we
leadership.
are?
Yes. These people have an understanding of technological advancement. They have ideas and wonders that would truly make you say, wow.
Ghost puts a hand down.
And he says, you hear a chuckling. And the figure says, or at least the voice then says, I seem to have hit on something a little harsh there. I apologize.
Tell me, do you know a little man who owns a bunch of shops?
I do.
I see.
And I despise him so.
Thank you. All right. Well, as long as we're on the same page there. You reeled me back, all right? You pushed me away and then you reeled me back.
Dear Shifter, that's what you are, aren't you? How
That's
would
what my
you
people are.
like to end those shops? To close those doors once and for all?
Well, everyone has their use.
This is true. But
I think you know I only kill when it's necessary. To my means.
imagine if all of those shops were under your control. That instead of there being many, many of the same annoying little man, it was you, 100,000 times over, across every reality.
Seems like a lot of paperwork.
You'd have enough of yourself that you could at least delegate someone to do it.
Well, that is an interesting idea, but I'd rather have minions than have to deal with myself over and over again.
The minions you shall have. It has been quite pleasant getting to speak with you this day. Now go. Enjoy the time that I have given you. And
Thank you.
at that, the stairs beneath you begin to just move ever so steadily. And it looks like this stone stairwell has turned into like an escalator for you. And upon setting your foot on it, you are just brought down amongst the populace of Amonkhet. And the people there, they fear how much they love you.
Yes!
And everywhere you go, you have people bringing you presents. They are bringing you the freshest fruits that they have grown. Everyone is doing their best to appease you.
Ghost is very pleased by this.
And as you can feel your dream coming to an end, you turn around towards the temple that you had come from, this large pyramid. And behind this pyramid, you once again see the same horn-like shapes of the crown. And at the base of the pyramid, there's Sarkon. And he has his hand out towards you extended. Not in a threatening way, but in an inviting way. And that is where you wake up.
Ghost awakes smiling. What a lovely place.
Daka, you have done your best to make sure that you have hidden out in an area devoid of horrors and hybrids and all of the other horrific things that find themselves alone in the rubble belt. And seeing this creature being Ghost smile first thing in the morning is probably one of the more unpleasant things that you have seen in a long time.
Are you ill?
No, just well rested.
Weirded out.
I believe we have work to do today.
Okay. So, Ghost, what is your plan for the day?
I think it's going to be more trying to get a job with Demir, whether it's I feel like this is going to be a process because they don't know me and I don't know them, and it's kind of a secret society sort of thing, and Ghost knows that you have to know the right people to find the right job or take the right job from another group to get the attention of the Secret Assassins Guild. So I think she'll be on the lookout for stuff like that.
Okay. Sounds good. So
she also is a little like Daka, you see moments of Ghost being like annoyed because she has done all this. Like, she is like the head of her group, and she doesn't have to do all this bullshit anymore. And she hasn't had to do it for like at least 5 years. So she is like, every once in a while, she's like, it's so much easier in Waterdeep.
Okay. Sounds good. So make a investigation roll.
Investigado. Ooh. I didn't take the lucky feat, did I?
Nope.
Okay. Investigation, that's a 6.
Okay. Sounds good. So you don't end up making any headway on it the first day. And then make another investigation check for day 2.
15.
Okay. With a 15, you do end up finding a little bit of headway. Mostly as you are asking around, you find yourself in one of the many alleyways of Ravnica, you and Daka together. And you notice that there is a figure that is following you.
Ghost immediately goes into like, I need to get behind this figure mode, and then she looks over at Daka, and then she looks down and up at Daka, and she's like, "The fuck am I supposed to do?" She's gonna attempt to make a survival check to backtrack this person,
Okay.
and like get behind them, basically.
Sure.
Because she doesn't like being followed. 22.
Okay, so with a 22, you definitely manage to backtrack them.
She's going to like kind of step out behind them and just say, "Hi."
And you see the figure kind of like stand up straight a little bit. One of their hands kind of goes under their cloak towards where you would assume a dagger would be, and they turn and look at you, and they're human. They are clean shaved, and they look you up and down and say, oh, hello.
Hello.
Can I help you with anything?
Can I help you? You seem to be tracking me.
I was told to keep an eye on you.
That's sweet. By whom?
Mutual friend.
Well, I don't have very many friends here.
The exact wordage that was used was, make sure the vixen doesn't go too far.
I see. So you're just following me?
They shrug.
Would you care to walk with us instead?
He shrugs again.
Ghost is going to slip her arm under his, the side that he was grabbing the dagger from, as like a, "You're going to walk me now" signal.
Okay.
And then she's going to say, "What should I call you?"
And figure says, Yev.
Yev. Interesting name. Do you have a rank?
And Yev looks at you. There are no ranks.
Interesting systems you have here. Well, we're going to the market. Care to join us?
And Yev sort of looks at your arm wrapped around his and says, not much choice, I don't suppose. And which market
Daka.
were you wanting to go to?
What do you say?
Which market were you wanting to go to?
Ghost will yell ahead to Daka. Ghost is no longer next to her. And she'll just say, "We have a guest on our venture." And then she'll kind of hurry up to her with him on her
I
arm.
imagine she's just silhouetted at the end of the alleyway, and as you call up to her, she was just standing there waiting for you to finish. Like, she wouldn't even come near you because it doesn't matter to her. She could be there in a second.
Exactly.
And Daka, as you turn around, you see that Ghost is currently arm in arm with a human man who is wearing the green and white robes of the Selesnya Guild, or of the Selesnyan Conclave.
She'll kind of look down her nose at him and say, "Are you actually Selesnya?"
And the figure looks up at you and bows deeply and says, "Praise be unto the Vitugazi," which you know to be the life tree, the one large tree that exists within Ravnica.
Is he full of shit?
Make an insight check.
I would also like to make an insight check, please.
Sure.
Fucking 25.
23.
You both know that he is full of shit. You've met with members of the Selesnyan Conclave, and while this man on the outside is portraying that of a loyal follower of the World Tree, you know that there's not enough passion in there's not enough annoying passion coming from this individual
God.
to truly be a member of the Selesnyan Conclave.
He's as Selesnyan as I am.
I see that. Well, shall we go to market? Do you mind? That is the kitten's food. It's right next to me, Rocco.
It's just Fiddlethip, just it just runs away.
Terrible.
Yeah, so we're looking for jobs still with a new friend.
Yes, and he asked you which market did you want to go to.
I don't know. I just made something up.
Yeah, Doc is trying to figure out if going to market means we're going to go and take this guy into the back alley and shiv him.
And they say, well, there are 3 markets that we could go to. There's the market near the Transguild Promenade, the one that's along 10th Street, or the Boiler Works Market.
I'm sorry, out of character. Why are we going to market?
I just was making an excuse that we were going to do something. We were going
Okay,
to
what do you
look
want to
for
do with
jobs.
this guy then?
We're taking him with us. He's supposed to be following us.
Yeah, and he has asked you if you wanted to go to one of 3 different marketplaces. Daka, make a history check.
Oh, God. 5.
Oh my god.
I've just been lucky with these. I have no modifier for that.
Ghost, to make a history check.
That's a 13.
So, Ghost, what you are aware of is that 10th Street has a variety of shops and merchants therein, but there is no set marketplace along 10th Street. So when this figure asks if you would like to go to the 10th Street market, you know that he is referring to something else.
Well, let's go to the 10th Street market, shall we? I think that will give us a good foot forward.
And they nod. All right. So...
Sorry. Ghost is just going to say, yeah, I think we're going to be fast friends.
And he shrugs again. And then the 3 of you make your way to this new marketplace. It is the second day on the airship. Is there anything that Hubris, Virtue, and any KRONK and the rest of the group would like to do during this time.
No friend is faster than DACA. Virtue. Over the next few days, I suppose Virtue briefs everybody on what she's been doing the past 5 years. She spent a little bit of time just kind of lost on the streets, and she met a weird little homunculus guy who was also lost. Come here, you. Oh my god, Danae's talking out loud again. Oh. Okay.
There's your homunculus right there. I see
There
him.
he is. It's right here. I found him.
He's no longer lost.
No longer lost. She was lost for a while. Demir kept on coming after her and trying to capture her for Manshoon. And, you know, she had to lay low for a while, which is goddamn hard for Virtue to do. She, like, as she says that she had to lay low, she's like, me, lay low. And she just, like, shoots sparks out of her hands.
Oh yeah.
So she wound up having to go to Acquisitions Incorporated to more adequately hide.
It was one of those situations where everything about this world was horrible and new, and there was one thing that existed in the place where she was at previously, and regrettably that was Acquisitions Incorporated.
And so what are you doing going to the front line?
I'm just dropping something off.
All right.
I run freight. That's all I do. And, you know, a few jobs on the side.
Hubris like stares at her. What other jobs on the side?
You know, just more freight that Acquisitions doesn't necessarily know about.
So you're a smuggler.
Only a little.
I thought you were trying to turn your life around, Virtue. That's not the way to do it.
It's better than it was before.
Fair.
Baby steps.
How you holding up, big guy?
Or isn't there like those flying swallow dragony monsters, or maybe a crab bat that's the size of the house? Something. I mean, it. And secretly, KRONK's been trying to keep from punching a hole in the side of the ship, like this whole time. Like,
Honestly, I think you would have done a lot better with Ghost.
You've been replaced.
So yeah, and no, that's KRONK. As a player, I don't really think that's not his gig, is to be thinking. It's other than if he at any point hears that we're just going to the front to drop off crates, he's gonna be pissed. He would just be seriously pissed because you know, he heard they were going to the front. He's like, war, yeah, you know. And so
honestly, the plan was start some shit in the front line to find her, but she's here, so quick drop and we're back.
I'm fairly certain that Vi just sent you to me because she knew I was going to be there.
And so any physical labor that's needs to be done on the ship is like, you know, KRONK is there and like to do it. Yeah, exactly.
He's excited. I'm sorry.
We could drop him off if you want.
Where?
I mean, you know, where he wants to go.
Oh, no. He needs to come back with us. The missus might be a little miffed at me if I left him on the front line. Even more so than she is now.
Okay.
And like I said in chat, there was that point where ghost stuff was happening and she's being followed and all that, and suddenly Kronk's eye is like twitching. For no reason. He has no idea why.
Does your large mastodon friend wrestle any?
Zissy?
Oh, bless her. What?
Her name is Zissy.
Oh, Zissy. Okay. I mean, it would probably take out some pent-up aggression.
Isn't she my occultant?
Yes. She
Ew.
is indeed.
Not only that, but if you mention wrestling here on the ship, Kronk will put a foot down. It doesn't make any noise, but it'll probably
bow the ship over.
Yeah, like give a shudder to the floor. Like, not a good idea. We'll go right through this, right to the hull.
Right. I forgot you do like that thing with masonry and constructions.
And
Zissy's a little. She's soft. You don't want to. Please don't hurt. Please don't hurt my crew.
Egg on my face. I shouldn't judge a book by a cover.
At any point did you, Hubris, have you said that anything about Ghost putting a hit out on you?
To his sister, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, have you and Kronk ever talked about that?
We could talk about it now.
All right. One evening when we're looking at are there stars here?
Yeah.
Okay. We're just kind of hanging on deck or whatever. And
then I guess like the crew is with us and he's like, and yeah, so she put a hit out on me and it's been kind of strained ever since. I use strained lightly. And
then Kronk does and then he doesn't say anything, and then later on he'll be like, she never put a hit out on you. She just wanted to see you again. That's a funny way of showing it, dagger to the torso. Yeah, well, Dickhead had plans of his own. Does no one know that I'm her husband? Well, like I said, sometimes people have plans of their own. And then things got ugly, and she just didn't know how to, she's Ghost. I mean, you could say less, but I understand. Just, figured you knew that, but why would you? Just motions to the side. I mean, I had very good reason very good reason to fear for my life. One. Kronk, when you do the motion thing, Kronk just pulls the tunic up to where he sunk her claws into his side when this was just, she was in a bad mood. Yeah, well, I guess we're all in a bad mood. It's all right, buddy. And he hugs you up and kind of does the send him my way again when you get the chance.
And throughout this entire trip, Karn, the silvered golem, has been just sitting towards the front of the deck, and each nightfall spends his time just looking up at the stars. And there is a look of, if a golem could show worry, that would be Karn's face.
At some point, Hubris will kick his feet up over the railing to sit, feet dangling off the side of the ship, to speak with Karn. If you frown anymore, I think you're gonna crease your shiny metal head.
And Karn then continues to look up and says, You remind me of someone I once knew. They are no longer here with me, but you remind me of Gerard nonetheless.
Is that a compliment, or I don't know how to take that, actually.
Your mannerisms. And he looks at your legs dangling off the front of the ship. Your complete disregard for danger.
I mean, I'm pretty safe. I could just, and he, God damn it. He like stands up. I grew up in a circus. It's not such a big deal to any backflips like on a handstand.
Make an athletics check.
Could I fail it?
You could.
His hand slips and he goes over, but then there's a casting of Misty Step to behind him.
And Karn looks back towards you. And then you see that there is a recognition of a smile upon his face. And then he goes back to looking up at the stars.
Thank you. I'm here for the next 3 days. Try the veal if you can.
Not hungry, but thank you.
Good talk. Smacks him on the back.
There are so many worlds. So many that we have been given the opportunity to travel to experience. Regardless of where I go, I meet the same. I meet you, Hubris, but you remind me of Gerard. Even in this place they have flying vessels, and while this is no weatherlight, I am still reminded of it nonetheless.
In a space that you think is infinite, you think there's also a chance of duplicates. So if you're running into a lot of them, I think that's just your luck.
They're going out, Hubris.
What are?
And Karn lifts a silvered finger to the sky. Worlds. Worlds are disappearing. And as he says that and points towards one of the stars, as your eyes follow, you see it's almost like a trick of the eye, but one of these stars in the night sky dims.
Do you think this war that they're fighting here, that's attributing to the loss of worlds?
And Karn's finger then comes back down, and he says, yes and no. We thought we could fix things. We thought the mending would make things right. There were planes that had formed from others, from broken ones. There were entire worlds that had learned to be better through their experiences of hardship. When we fixed the planes, we fixed our own and broke many, many more along the way. This was not our intention. But we must live with our choices.
Agreed. I experience you break a lot of things you meant to fix, but you're just gonna have to live with it, right?
And Karn nods and says, across the worlds there are many of those who are the same. hurt, many who are angered, many who don't know why. But at the end of the day, it was us.
I could tell you what you can do for now. Make things better for the people that are here, the people within your sight. Start small and build up.
And Karn nods.
Just don't go destroying the plane we're currently on.
And Karn looks at you with a face of utmost seriousness and says, what we do here, even if this plane is destroyed, it will be an end.
Yeah. He scrambles up and like just kind of grips the golem's cheeks. What is up with all the doomsday saying and the ominous talk? Like, I hate it because one, my sister's in the middle of it, and now I'm going to have to try and think of a way to fix things, and I know I'm going to break a lot more things than I'm going to fix, but hey, I'm cool with it.
And
Pat.
Karn looks at you. Your sister will be fine.
Yes, I'm going to make
Yes,
sure
I'm
of that.
I will do my best to protect those of this world. I once created an entire plane in my own likeness, and I had to watch it fall. The plight of the Mirrodin people is deep within my core. But I will save others, so the ones out there, and he looks back up towards the stars, do not meet the same fate.
If he'll allow Hubris to, he'll sit on the golem's shoulder and look up at the stars with him.
And as you climb up onto his shoulder, he lets you continue to look up at the stars with him. He's big ol' sturdy boy.
I might just take you up on helping you with that. There are people I care about out there. Don't want to see them go.
And Karn nods, and as he does, like, you almost tip over a little bit because he's not used to having people on his shoulder, but you manage to maintain your footing. Virtue, you had raised a hand earlier to say something. What would you like to do?
So Virtue hasn't been sleeping well lately. And whenever she does that, she goes for walks on the ship. And when I say on the ship, I mean like the entirety of the ship, like the outside of the ship. She has slippers of web walking. So she has been, she went for a quote unquote walk and was like underneath the ship. And at some point she saw her brother go plummeting. And she went running up to go and, like, you know, catch him or whatever. And then he teleported back up onto the deck, and she was already there. So she just kind of stayed there and listened to this whole conversation. Does that seem amenable to everyone?
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool, because if you hadn't, I would have said something like that I came up and was listening in, but if you were,
you can
then
do it too, I don't care!
KRONK,
No,
you can also be playing any number of games with the crew members.
that. Yeah, like I said, if I caught any part of that conversation later on, I would say something to Hubris like, "Sounds like they had a mirror bar situation."
Sounds like they had a carriage in Mirabar.
Indeed.
And do you think that it's possible that we had a smuggling operation to do on the way here?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool, we do that.
Okay.
There comes a point during the trip where the crew just pushes a bunch of crates off of the ship with parachutes attached to it.
Sis,
What?
thought you said baby steps.
And Kevin comes up behind you, Hubris, and pats you on the back, and he says, "Yeah, this seems like have good coin. There's a place for us to keep flying." And then he's on his way.
And she just kind of like grabs him, brings him in close. Hubris. And for that matter, the Cynic are working on a way out of here.
For you?
I mean, if I pay them enough, maybe.
Great. Cool. Just another fucking guild we have to go through.
That's Ravnica.
He flicks her forehead.
She kicks his foot.
Ow.
And as the two of you are having this sibling mutually assured pestering, Ghost, you continue to have dreams of the lovely wayside of Amonkhet, and each time it ends the same, with Sarkon offering his hand outstretched towards you.
I think after the second night, Ghost will start asking Daka and probably Yev too, if he continues to follow, about this pharaoh. And he's very vague. What actually does he want? What's his portfolio? Like, she's going through like, all right, what does he follow? What are his goals? Like, what is all this? Because in Waterdeep and Faerun, it's very like, this is Hor. He is Oseron. He is the god of vengeance. Like,
yeah. When you mention the pharaoh, Daka, make a religion check. 3.
Yeah.
Yev looks at you and just, what is this word? That's not his voice.
He has like a horn. He has 2 horns that make a crown.
And his eyes blink. And he says, I don't think I've ever heard of this.
Who is your god?
What?
Who do you follow?
Well, whoever pays me the most.
So you know nothing of the person who has paid you to be here today? Sarkon?
I know of Sarkon. I wouldn't describe him as my god.
Right, but what is he? Is he part of any organization?
And Yev looks at you, motions to himself.
So he's just paying you to be here? He didn't tell you anything?
He's part of our house.
Your house? Forgive me, I'm not from this plane of existence.
As is apparent, Lady Flame. Which I'm assuming is what you probably would have demanded he call you.
He can call me Vixen.
Okay.
Ghost doesn't care.
Okay, and he says, there are many different guilds, as
Right.
you are aware. There is the Selesnian Conclave. That is a guild. There is the Cult of Rakdos. That is a guild. What I belong to is a guild. We are a
guild?
house.
Well,
That is our word for it.
soul in the sky. Are you joking? Do you belong to the house?
Yes.
I wasn't going to say. Well, then, perfect. We've been working for 2 days, and you have not said a word. Great. If you were in my organization, you'd be whipped. All right.
In our line of work, discretion is advised. If you
There's
like, I can set up a meeting.
That'd be fantastic.
Would you like to meet with my employer or my house?
Your house, if it is acceptable.
And at that, the figure, Yev, nods. And you see them reach into their pocket and pull out a small piece of paper that you see them cup into their hands and whisper something into. And as they do, they extend their hand outward. And it seems like these cranes of sending that you are experienced with having in Waterdeep proper also exist here. Except that as it goes about 5 feet away from where Yev is, you watch as it actually turns into... It looks like it looks more like a moth than anything. It's just a kind of large winged insect that seems to fly away.
Okay. Thank you, Yev. You've been most helpful.
They nod towards you. Don't really say much.
Right. Dinner? I need to make a call first.
And Yev shrugs.
I was talking to Daka.
Then am I free to go?
You're always free to go.
Right. Until tomorrow, Vixen.
Good night, Yev.
And Yev will make his way into a crowd, and as he does, there is a moment where you see his cloak and robes that he is wearing go from whenever you're in away from individuals, it seems to default to a more like blue and black style tone. But as he gets towards the crowd, you watch as it actually, as those blacks begin to lighten, and he looks as if he is wearing the guild clothing of an Azurius law mage, and he just walks into a crowd and continues to walk.
I think I'm good.
Walks over to Ghost and says, "The message has been sent.
Well,
Should I kill him? I can still catch him."
I don't think that's necessary. Do you think that's necessary?
What is necessary and what I want are two different things.
Well, I think traveling with me, drawing the least amount of attention to ourselves, is the best. Don't worry, we can kill people later. If you want. We can hunt things for sport.
You are entering some dangerous territory.
I've lived in very dangerous territory for a while.
Bureaucracy is outside of my hunting grounds.
Trust me, it's right up my alley. Now, let me make my call and then we can find some food.
As you wish.
Ghost loves those words. Okay. She'll cast ascending to her to KRONK. Bing bong. on our way to getting more information. Things going smoothly so far. Remember, you only have 25 words.
am I privy at all to the fact that whoever Virtue is working with is also working on a way to get us home?
I would say Virtue and Hubris. Where would
Hey.
the two of you would have been having that conversation? It was on the main deck of the ship, right?
No, that conversation was back in the captain's quarters.
Well, I was meaning more like, because you did push off crates from the side. Kevin came up, patted you on the
Oh.
back, and then
Yeah.
you accused Virtue
Yeah.
of being smarmy about the whole smuggling thing.
I think what we need to do is establish what information would have been kept from KRONK.
Yes, that's
The
sort
only-
of what I was asking.
The only information that Virtue would intentionally keep from KRONK, I think, is the fact that she's a planeswalker.
Okay.
She would have
Like-
been briefed.
Containing a spark sense of the word.
Cool. All right, then KRONK will say Hubris' sister has a plan to get home. We are not going to war, just dropping stuff off. Sucks.
I imagine if you could use sending to send like a frowning face emoticon. Not going to war, frown.
Sucks. Poop emoji.
Do you tell her about Hubris again?
You mean that I talked to him?
No, that he asked me to call him.
Oh, he didn't.
You're two in Kronk's brain.
Yeah,
I tapped you on the shoulder and I said, "Send her my way again when you get the chance."
Oh, because KRONK, yeah, I am in KRONK's brain because KRONK meant that and took that like once he sees her again to send her to talk to you.
That's totally fine too.
That's fine too.
Yeah, as Hubris, as far as you are aware, your friendly shifter is ghosting you.
Sorry, dude. I really did like LB said, totally in KRONK head. Wouldn't have thought about it.
Fine.
So, yeah, so I guess I miss out on about 6 words.
It's fine.
Okay. Sounds good. So, yes, KRONK, you and Ghost have had your accordance. Ghost, throughout the rest of the day, you and Daka are able to find a place that has not the best food, all things considered, but decent food, well enough. And Daka, you know that tomorrow you are going to be going into a place that you really do not want to be going into. This was not part of your agreement with Ghost, to be her guide throughout the city. The sewers you consider part of the city, but if it's to meet up with House Demir, not feeling super hot about that one.
Getting in too deep.
Yep. So, Daka, you have the option to either part ways with Ghost here before heading in, or you can find yourself in the house.
That seems threatening. DM to player, that seems threatening.
The halls of the house are totally non-threatening. It's the denizens that you really have to worry about.
That's true. Can I say... Oh, this is the worst. Can I say that at some point while they're making their way through the city, they get stopped by bolus legionnaires.
Yeah.
And she gets caught up in having to pay for a speeding ticket.
Not only are you currently caught up in having to pay for a speeding ticket, but as you have been stopped, members of the Orzhov Guild are taking advantage of this, and it seems like there was a destruction of property that had taken place within the last several days. And as you see, like, Legionnaire, Law Mage, Orzhov, like, this group is now forming around Daka. Yev just motions his head towards you, Ghost, and kind of gives you the hint that this would be the best time to begin taking the sideways.
Ghost, like, does one of those side steps where you step down and just is gone.
And Ghost, you also realize that if Daka gets arrested here, you never have to pay them for having been your escort
you know,
through the city.
we're friendly enough now that, you know, once she gets out, I might find her again and pay her.
For sure.
Totally.
You better hope you're the one finding her.
Daka! I was just looking for you.
You left me alone.
Like, it seemed like a law thing.
All right, so Ghost, you are brought down into the depths of the Undercity, and the ways that you end up going through this are very much traveling through the Undercity aqueducts, and you begin to smell salt. Like you're near the ocean, but there is no crashing of waves, until eventually you reach a cavern. And inside of this cavern, beneath you, hundreds of feet down, you can see that there is just an ocean of a subterranean ocean that exists beneath the city. And you see dark shapes kind of moving around in there. And you remember what the Simic made for the skies above. You don't know. You don't want to know what happened when anything the Simic made left to the oceans below.
Yeah.
And
can I be tracking where we're going?
make a survival check.
Okay. 23.
Okay, with a 23, you have a pretty good means of maneuvering from one point to the other, and eventually Yev will lead you along this long walkway. And as they are walking, you hear shrieking sounds of a unnatural sort, and looking up you can see what look like wyverns, but with dark hooded riders on them that are just kind of flying all around in this undersea area. The Lord of the Rings nerd inside of you would definitely assume Nazgul if that was the case, but they have a much more specter-like look to them. And eventually you are led into a large circular room with several doorways and hallways extending out from it, and also windows that you can look out and see this undersea of. And as Yev brings you to this place, they will bow to you, go over to one of the doors, and then trace a symbol on the front of the door and push it open, and you hear the sound of footfalls coming from the end of the hallway, and approaching from this hallway is Sarkhan. And Sarkhan looks at you and says, "Well, hello, Vixen.
Hello again, Sarkhan.
Have you thought about my offer?"
I have. I've also been having some interesting dreams.
My goddess spoke to you then.
He has.
Would you like to meet him for yourself?
Of course.
And Sarkhan will extend his hand out to you once again.
Ghost will take him by the arm.
And Sarkhan smiles and Yev will nod, and the two of you begin walking down the halls of the Demir Aqueducts as the door closes behind you. And as the darkness falls, you see, or rather the audience sees, that you at first hear the sound of wind, and then you begin to see specks of dust. And from the camera rising from the ground, you can see that there is an airship with a green balloon on its descent down towards what looks to be a small encampment. There are two women wearing red that both have goggles, one around their neck, the other holding up high on their head, and the woman with the goggles high on her head has a long gray braid of hair. You can see that there is a man that has runes that have been tattooed along the side of his face with a deep bluish hair tinge, or a deep bluish tinge to his hair color, that has his arms folded and is looking over a series of notes and documents. And stepping into frame, looking up at this ship, you see that it is a figure that stands taller than a man would normally stand, shoulders about as wide as KRONK's, and in all reality, they are roughly around the same size as KRONK. Their head is that of a lion, and they have a scar going across their left eye, and you can see that their mane turns to dreads along the back of their neck, and they are wearing the most regal but simplistic looking armor. And as this figure looks up, their fur a albino white, they drop a double-sided halberd onto the ground with one of the blades sinking into the dirt, and they raise their hand to hail the ship down. And as they raise their hand to hail the ship down, Karn raises his hand to signal as well. And that is where we are going to call it for tonight's session. I would like to say, first and foremost, thank you to these players for putting up with my bullshit once again this week. I know that we had some back and forths, but that's what happens when we split the party. Like I said, though, I had plans. I'm glad that we are getting to them. This is going to be a great time. With that, let's go into our outros. Hey, RJ, where can we find you? What do you do?
I'm kind of debating about blurring it out. That's in the courtyard, I guess. Yeah. Hey, everybody, I'm RJ here on the channel, but you can catch me at RJustice282 on Twitter and Twitch, where I tweet about the nerdy things in my life. You can catch me here on Mondays during our homebrew campaign as Caleb the Shatterkai Wizard Cleric, Tuesdays, of course, as the Tiefling Sorcerer Hubris, and also on, not this Sunday, next Sunday, over at G Game Nights with LBHackEmUp as I play Samick, a very ragey, angry boy who's about to fuck up some bugbears.
All right, GB.
Greybeard or Greybeard's Tavern. Check out my Twitter for my schedule. But next up is Thursday, 4 p.m. Over on Encounter Roleplays channel. I will be my mad scientist, Dr. Verrucht. And after that, Sunday for G Game Nights with the amazing LBHackEmUp as Abby, and I will be Rex Machina, my Flake. And that's all I'm going to call out right now. Like I said, check my schedule.
Hi, I'm LBHackEmUp. You can find me here Mondays and Tuesdays. Mondays I play Gwen, the Halfling Barbarian fighter, and Tuesdays you can find me playing Ghost. On this week we are off on Friday, and then Sunday I will be playing as Abby with GB in our Monster of the Week game on G Game Nights channel. Starting February 19th, I believe, I'll be playing on with Jordan with PH and Nerd Immersion on Nerd Immersion's channel. I will be playing Siren, the adopted daughter of Ghost, the biological daughter of Hubris, and the biological niece of Miss Virtue. DanaeKeener.com.
And speaking of DanaeKeener.com, hi everybody, my name is Danae Keener. You can find me at DanaeKeener.com. I do nerdy drawings mostly related to D&D and a lot of things on this channel. You can find me here playing on Mondays and Tuesdays. And yeah, DanaeKeener.com.
And if you have made it this far, you probably already know who I am. But if you don't, hey fella, what's up? It's me, your buddy, your pal, your friend, the Indoor Adventurer, the showrunner here at twitch.tv/Indoor Adventures. We do shows like this Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We got our homebrew game. We got Waterdeep War of the Spark for at least the next grip of weeks. And then, of course, we also have our Ghosts of Saltmarsh game, which surprisingly doesn't have a character named Ghost in it. Other than that, we also have a Patreon set up, so if you enjoy what you have seen here and you would like to see more of these fine folk, consider going to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/Indoor Adventures. And of course, we also upload all of our VODs and everything else to youtube.com/Indoor Adventures, as well as anywhere where podcasts are available for free. And as we close out tonight's session and go into that podcast, I would like to include a vignette for tonight's session. So, Ghost, as you are walking down this long hallway with Sarkon, as the group aboard the Greener Pastures is making its descent, and the blue-haired figure looks towards the Lion Man and asks, Ajani, are they here already? And Ajani nods. We sift over to the rubble belt. There is no one here. But the camera zooms in on what appears to be a rock sunk in the dust of the city that once was. And as it zooms in, this rock does not belong here. It is pale, it is greenish, and it has 3 distinct lumps about it that look like they could be eyes. Now, we as the audience know that this is the Stone of Galore. Hubris, when you had fallen off the side of the ship, something had fallen out of your pocket. Because the Stone of Galore always seeks to find a new owner, one that knows as much as it possibly can. And the last thing that we see is a flash of electric purple energy and a metallic right hand reaching down with 2 pointed fingers gripping the stone on either side. And as the camera turns, we see the figure that we have identified as Tezzeret look upon this stone and say, well, what do we have here? And that is where it ends for tonight. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody once again, and we will see all of you guys next week. All right, everybody. Bye-bye!